Hello guys, so today I'm going to be talking about the June 22nd patch notes. If you go in your events, they're at the bottom in the recent updates. They were not showing for quite a while, so this is why I couldn't actually do this video until they appeared. So again, these will be posted up and start in effect tonight at the maintenance, so we are the 22nd too. So this is the update schedule. So first thing is a bunch of character revamps, additions. So in the Wormwind family, we have a new season 2 called Ernesto. His ace is actually pretty nice, increasing critical rate, critical resistance in Wormwind and Thunder players. I personally don't know a lot of teams that are going to use both. Active increased attack power of the designated ally for 20 minutes, that's pretty weak. Increased critical damage and reflex within the position of an action. Again, is going to require doing moving 3 times, and critical damage and reflex are not the best things in a backline. Passive 2, increase receiving pass effect and critical rate of allies within position. That's not bad, but again, not something that I'm looking for on a backline, or I'm guessing maybe he's a midline player. Those could be more useful there. Again, we don't really know where he goes, so again, this is speculation. Rebirth of Element, decrease incoming damage by 40% and increase the action speed by 25% for 5 minutes when being attacked. So his last skill sounds more like something of backline. His other skills are much more midline. So in worst case scenario, he's going to have a very decent damage decrease and action speed buff when he's being attacked. So he's going to be pretty nice as a player, but he's going to feel very weak in the other fields. Again, we don't know his stats, but those buffs are just not that great compared to current options you have, because he has a weak reflex buff in midline compared to certain players such as Victoria, and in backline he doesn't have survival buffs, so I feel he's not going to be a great player. Now, a bunch of extreme evolutions have been added. So for Erika, sadly, it was not a buff to the all Andor buff skill. Instead, it affected the skill mindset. So I'm going to say this is a very good buff for her because she's a backline player and she used to be very squishy. So at the place of just increase pass effect and decrease inflicted damage by 10%, pass effect 40, reflex 30%, meaning she now has a chance to actually steal, and decrease inflicted damage 30%, knowing that usually players throw in the back right position, if I remember correctly. It's actually a very good buff for her, and it's going to push them to see her as someone that's not going to be KO'd one shot and then just going to become a huge liability to the team. Now, this is what I believe should never have happened as an EE. I completely disagree because it's on a Thunder player, but again, it's going to depend your team. So the one thing I disagree with is his passive Steelheart, who to be honest was pretty bad, has been changed to Raging Electricity, who now recovers hype of allies within the position by 15% of an attack. That's basically Virgil level. That is legend level. I don't understand why a 3-star is having that. So his heal is extremely powerful. Crack to Rift Destroyer. Crack, increased penetration by 40% to Destroyer. Increased penetration, crit rate, and action speed. So basically, he isn't a great totem, but he's going to be able to heal. He doesn't have counterattack. So again, this is more a PvE kind of player I'm going to be pushing towards than a PvP player. But that heal is something really great for Thunder teams who just don't have it. So if you're running Mono Thunder for PvE, he might be a very decent option actually, because there's a low chance you're going to get out reflex. And if you're stolen properly, you can stack some counterattack resistance. Now, there's a striker in Wormwind, because we all know Beatrice, but there's another one who we never really see or mention, is Earu. So they've turned him, in my eyes, into some better utility striker. I'm not going to say it's something of Legends. It's basically, we don't know the exact values, but I'm guessing they're boosting a little bit of stats. And the only difference is basically that it's going to take less turns to max out his skill. The reason why it's not a good advantage is actually because he's being used as a utility striker, but he isn't really utility based. And Wormwind striker, like for a utility, it's not actually worth what he's going to give. And especially the 8 minute is the huge limitation. with that skill. So it's going to decrease critical resistance and inflicted damage, and increase inflicted damage, which is pretty nice. But again, that 8 minutes with an attack is the real problem. If it was something like 12, 15, it would be worth it. But 8 minutes, if they hold the ball, you're basically stuck, and it's never going to stack up to 3 times. The good thing is it was reduced from 5 to 3 and increased the percentage. If you do the math, it passed from 25 to 36. So even that, it's actually a buff. So it's pretty good all around, but by base, I wouldn't advise him. 2 new skins that are going to be get for the purchase shop skin page of the store. I can show that if needed. There's Classic Iggy. I'm personally not a fan of this. And there's Forgotten Princess Guinevere. I'm going to say, honestly, it doesn't fit with her style, but it's actually a beautiful skin. So it's really up to you. Now, a new event manager has been added, so be awaiting that in the following few weeks, there's going to be a purchase event. So I know a lot of you had problems with the Balteon one, so save your money and wait for the day you see the alert message, purchase event, and then you can throw it. We sadly do not have any information, so we can already see the skin. So this is one of the skins you could alternate on your main screen now that it's an actual option. It looks pretty nice to me. It looks like a tennis player to me, to be honest. But I mean, it's up to us. Now, just there's a little part about the weekend rates. From the 1st to the 2nd, the important players, depending on your team, are mainly going to be Patricia for dark teams, Leviator, and Vonchi. And then for the one of the weekend of the 8th to the 9th, I would say Elaine, Chitose, Jin, and Duran are the players that are going to be really pushing towards. Sadly, we know that the next boss match is going to be against Swimsuit Kyoya, Wormwind. We already had her a little while ago. Unless you're running Mono Wormwind, she's not really worth it, and even then, there's a lot of better options. So that's disappointing. Now, what they've done is they've balanced a lot of players, and for majority of them, these balances have been huge buffs. So this is something, even if it's not their E or their versions, these are a bunch of notes you're going to want to actually read in detail if you're running any of these players. So for Iggy Founder, the one who just received the skin, her passive, so her stats have been slightly decreased, but her previous passive was a critical damage and reflex 40%. They gave her an extra 20% of critical damage. So as long as you can add a little bit more crit rate, you're completely fine. It's actually a buff. Now this is actually completely broken. Alien's active was already made or part of the new meta, has just become even more OP because it used to be increase the inflicted damage within the position receive, and now it's become increase the inflicted damage and decrease the defense, so that if you do it on a goalkeeper, it's even more powerful. So that I feel is like completely broken, and it's a dumb idea because they're going to push everyone to go now to the new Elaine meta. I actually have Elaine, so I might even actually try it myself. Sadly, she's not light or dark, so she's really going to be at the end of my experimentation. Passive has been changed. Increased allies attack power, they've increased it to 25. They reduced the amount of times. Again, it's just a buff. I know, I don't even think she's losing anything. No, she's even gaining because it passes from 45 to 50%. So again, a little 5% gain and only 2 activations. Ifri Haru, I don't believe that's going to make a huge difference, but increased speed and reflex within the position by 5%. It's been increased by 10%, but it's also when attacked. So that actually will activate much more often, especially with co-op defense, only 3 times. So a 30% buff if attacked or attacking. I don't think it's worth sticking him in. His skill Quick Decision has been changed, previously increasing action speed. Yeah, it's the same one. 15%. There you're actually losing in the total value you used to have. But again, when being attacked is actually pretty nice. Now, the Evidence Guardian stance, ironically, would have been perfect with this new thing, but now it's been changed. So decrease inflicted damage by 50% when attacked is now increased crit rate and decrease inflicted damage in all situations. Again, this is a buff to him, but it changes the way you use him. So if you used to him like something midline or center mid, just used to him taking damage, this will no longer happen. But when he does take damage, it's going to buff your line. Now, something that's really cool and, well, really bad for anyone running S2 players is going to be these two. Because Black Tortoise is the other Wormwind goalkeeper, and basically no one ever talks about her. We want Jin or we don't go Wormwind. That's the way it's been going. So she's not even mentioned in the radar. I mean, people are considering Zibroy above her, because a while back she lost one of her crit resist passives, and she doesn't have crit resist as good as a lot of goalkeepers because they're based on her max life. So when she's above a certain percentage, they don't proc. So this buff is actually going to make her viable. She's not, I would say, K or any of the two Andor goalkeepers. I just can't remember the names. Oh, Lucian and Angela level. But it's going to be pretty nice because it's going to increase action speed and pass effect. That was pretty bad for a goalkeeper. And instead it was done to increase attack power and decrease incoming damage to allies within position. So that's really great because this is something you actually care about, and it buffs the goalkeeper in itself. So again, this is going to be 2 times the same thing. And then there's going to be God Psych, who's decreased incoming damage and attack power within the position of a pass. So it's basically this has been passed back up. And this is going to be changed to increase pass effect, we don't care really, and recover high by 15%. So really what really happened is she got more hype recovery. One skill just got removed and got pseudo blunched in. So basically she lost action speed, she lost pass effect, and she gained a 15 hype recovery, who actually, knowing that she doesn't run a team that recovers hype unless you're running a Miho, it's actually really great. Now Chitose Light. Now you gotta know this is a mono light backline player, so buffing her makes actually a lot of sense. I'm gonna say this buff is great. This buff is more questionable depending on how you want to use her. So the first thing is she used to be a really great totem, action speed and reflex to light players within position. Again, the light players within position is the reason why she's mono light. Changed to speed 25, reflex 25, so they lose 5% each. And max hype 30%. That's basically Kiki level of light players within position. So if you're running a mono light backline, this is now purely viable. Because a lot of the time she was frustrating with no hype totems. And she has a huge base reflex, so the 5% is kind of sad. Now this part, I'm gonna say it changes her utility by a lot. Because before she used to recover action bar and spirit, both skills are the same, by 30%, and now they've been reduced. So it's pretty bad. Now it's gonna be steal 15% of action bar and 15% of spirit from each target of an attack. So it's basically half of the value, but it's actually stealing it. So especially if you put her center, mid, and back for any 4-man defense or any form of co-op, it's actually pretty nice because now it's a steal. It's not just an action. So for action bar control teams and spirit control teams, this is really great. I currently run this and I'm already planning to throw her in. So it's really nice. Plus, if you run her and a Magnus and you're fighting a one of Thunder, they're going to be crying. Again, she's season 2, so chances of you having her are sadly low. Now here, this was upgraded to a 25%, from 40 to 25. Again, it does feel like a nerf. So action bar starting stones are going to need to be a little bit higher. Maybe we're going to look at boosting more her reflex than her action bar than before. But again, it's still pretty decent. I'm going to rank this as a buff just because of the line buff. The steal, if you were combining this with a Miho, could just be cancerous to the other team. So it is also an option. So I hope this has helped you understand exactly what this means. How is this actually going to translate in the game? Because that's a thing that the patch notes never actually tell you. So the first thing is Black Tortoise is now a valuable player. Chitose is going to be more frustrating to penetrate her line, especially if you're a Thunder player. But again, you're not going to see her that much because she's season 2 and requires a monolite backline. So it's not that big of a deal. Earu, I don't think he's going to be that more often present. Maybe in PvE, but again, I wouldn't put it. Iggy is going to be higher on damage, but going to be more penetrable. She is currently a bit popular. There's going to be a purchase event. The new characters are pretty weak. I don't think we're going to see an increase in Earu. We're going to see Butcher increase in PvE. Erika has a pretty decent chance of being added to Mono Andor teams. And I just don't know where he fits, but wherever he fits, there's something wrong with one of his skills, so I'm not planning to see him either. So I hope this helps you understand what's going to be happening after tonight. And if you have any question, comments about this patch, just message me on the forum, and we can just try to talk it out. Again, this is just my personal impression. There could be some people with a completely different impression. And again, the key node that you want to notice is for the meta, A lane has been buffed. So this is going to be frustrating to all of us. And she has become truly cancerous with that defense decrease. Have a good day.